I'd like to invite you to join me for a swift half, about half an hour that is, as we head on a kind of virtual pub crawl through a selection of archive films. It's going to see us staggering across the country, perhaps literally if things go according to plan, but also zipping backwards and forwards through time in a way that will hopefully leave you as dizzy, entertained and exhausted as a real pub crawl would, without the hangover. I'm your guide, Jez Stewart, and I'm one of the curators at the BFI National Archive. For many, these clips might come with a heavy wave of nostalgia. We want you to feel like you've just barreled through the door into the saloon bar with a bunch of mates and been hit by that collective assault on the senses, a wall of heightened voices and laughter competing with the dull thump of a pointless sound system, the aroma of spilt beer and heaving bodies. My round, what do you have? Well, let's just say to begin with, just imagine for a second that you didn't know what a pub was. Impossible, surely. Well, it seemed to be the explanation for our first clip, an Anglia television programme from 1963 that seemed to feel the need to not only explain the concept of a pub to its audience, but also to introduce them to this newfangled beverage called beer.
There are about 69,000 pubs dotted all over England and Wales. Although they're not all as picturesque and compact as this one in South Wales, Suffolk, they all have at least one thing in common. They sell beer. In fact, in the last 12 months, they sold just over 1 million gallons of the stuff. For many people, nipping round the corner to the local for a quick one is part of their lives. They enjoy a natter with the barman, a game of darts, a cigarette, maybe a song. But most of all, they enjoy a glass of beer. Most of this beer is brewed by one of the 317 breweries in the country. Connoisseurs will argue until well after closing time about who brews the best beer.
What are you drinking at the moment?
Mild beer.
How fussy are you about the sort of beer you drink?
Very fussy.
You are?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What do you think about the local beer?
Well, it's all right. It's very clear. You don't get any flies, alligators, beetles or moths here. All clear.
Good. Now, you're obviously fairly particular. How much beer do you drink in a day, say?
Well, about 1 or 1.5 this hour in the day. When we're playing javelins, I consume about 3 or 4 pints of that.
What about...
In the evenings, that would be.
Yeah. What about bottled beer?
Oh, I don't like bottled beer. Too much gas. I'm afraid it should blow up in the air.
Have you always drunk beer during your life?
Have I ever drunk any?
Yeah.
What, a few? Measure or two.
You fussy about your beer?
Beg your pardon?
Are you fussy about your beer?
Fussy? No, I don't fussy. Only one that can't get it.
What about the local beer? Do you reckon it's good?
What, you can't beat it?
As much as these clips offer us a chance to look back at our drinking days, they're just as much about a lost form of regional television. A generation of reporters of a certain age, all seemingly male, who seem to make their living passing from one, and finally, news story to another. And who can forgive them for seeming to always find stories which required a quick half at the end? But what attracted them to these stories? Well, like all good pub crawls, in this first collection of clips, we're going to visit a broad mix of drinking establishments, ranging from country inns to city bars. And we can see that sometimes it's the building itself that makes the experience special. Certainly in the case of the gravity-defying Glyn Arms near Dudley, in the West Midlands, which is still in business, now understandably known as the Crooked House, or down the road from there, in nearby Aston, where we'll visit the Victorian jewel that is the Barton Arms. But at other times, it's not the four walls and furniture that make it feel like home, it's that it attracts a community of which you feel very much a part. Could be your local, the only pub in the village, or perhaps it's a particular clientele of like minds that it attracts, be they of shared background, age, or experience. So let's take a trip around some bizarre bars.
Something wrong there, Mr. Love. Is it the wall or is it the clock?
Well, the clock's perpendicular, so it's got to be the wall.
You're sure that's absolutely straight?
Oh, yes.
Well, it looks very rum to me. But of course, this is a pretty rum place, isn't it? The Crooked House at Himley.
That's correct.
That's not its real name, is it?
No, the Glyn Arms.
But everybody calls it the Crooked House. And it's a place that's full of tricks, isn't it?
All sorts of tricks.
Yours is a rather unusual clientele, isn't it, Mr. Love? They come from all over the place. Where, for instance?
China, Russia, Japan, Canada, America, all over the world.
Well, why do they come to this place?
To see the bottles run up the table.
Yeah, because this is a place where bottles and balls roll uphill, where people come in drunk and go out sober, isn't it?
Yes, correct, yes.
Mrs. Love, what did it feel like when you came here?
Oh, well, we used to get violent headaches. But of course, we've got used to the building now.
How long's the place been like this?
Well, they tell us it's a 17th century building, but when it was built, we don't know.
What caused it to go like this?
Subsidence, they only mind the one side.
So it all started in a straight line, and over
That's
the years,
correct.
because of mining subsidence?
That's correct. It all went in one go, and there wasn't a crack to be seen.
And how does the place hang together? Because I'm told there's not a crack in the building.
Well, they condemned it in 1950, and Banks has modified it inside and still erected it all the way around. And as you noticed, at the end of the building, they put in 3 new buttocks, and that is holding it up, and it is inspected every 7 years.
And you think that'll keep it for another 150?
I'm hoping it'll keep it while I'm here anyway.
It's not very good for drinking, really, is it?
Well, you come in drunk and you go out sober.
Yeah, but they don't drink much, do they?
Oh, well, some don't, some do.
Who does do the drinking?
Well, most of our regulars.
Hey?
Which are very few, but
Yeah.
when they're here, they're good customers.
Alkiolando vi intensas eri signorino Jones.
Mi intensas resti Himley.
En
Ne tutte Himley. Mi intensas iri al.
Well, what do you suppose that was all about? And where do you imagine we are? Well, I suppose it could be Paris. The gentleman with the beret has a certain Gallic look about him. It could be Italy, of course, or even Spain. Well, let's listen to a bit more. And in the meantime, perhaps this may give you an idea.
Tu mi raitas esti ebria?
Mi credas ca ne. Ne placas al mi vidi ebriain homoin.
Sed estis nur unu foio dum multae jaroi che mi estis facti ebria.
Well, have you got it yet? Well, the language is Esperanto. La Verde Stelo means the green star. That is the international symbol of Esperanto, the international language founded by Dr. Lazar Zamenhof. And the Green Star is a pub in Stoke-on-Trent, Britain's only Esperanto pub. Its licensee is the Lord Mayor of Stoke-on-Trent. Lord Mayor, Britain's only Esperanto pub. Do you get any visitors on account of this?
Oh, yes. A tremendous amount of visitors. The most interesting one was when I moved into the pub about 3.5 years ago. Was a mad Russian. One would put him with this qualification that was visiting the country, came to London Airport on business and came up to here. He only had a bit of lemon, but what particularly impressed me was the fact that he'd taken this trouble to come from London to here to see their pub.
How long was he in the place?
About 20 minutes.
And then went back to London?
And then went back to London. He was over here on business, you know.
Crazy Russian, as you say.
No, yeah, no good for business, but certainly
Nice.
wonderful, because it impressed me to start a visitor's book, which I did. And I've collected about 140, 180 visitors from all countries in the world.
It's a pretty little cottage, isn't it? Just the sort of thing you'd expect to find in the heart of the Somerset countryside. But it isn't just a cottage, it's a public house as well. There used to be a sign above my head which told you the name. And one dark and windy night it blew down in a storm, and the governor just couldn't be bothered to put it back up again. The last thing, believe it or not, that he wants to do is encourage customers. I don't even know if I'll get a drink, so I'm going to go and try anyway. Anybody home? Can I have a drink, please? Help yourself, Gus. What do I do about paying?
Money on the deck. Bill drop in the morning is better than none all day, that's what we say.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Good morning. Which of you gentlemen is the governor?
I am.
Hello, Governor. Can I come and join you?
Come on and sit down.
My word, but this is an extraordinary way to run a public house.
It's the correct way in the country.
No inside, pay what you like, get your own.
That's right, that's how we do it. It's served us very well in the past.
Now, Governor, why do you turn customers away? Why don't you want anybody to know this is a pub?
Well, we can't brew enough for any extra. You see, we've got a store. You can only press 3 months of the year. And that's got to be put in store for the whole year. So if we stepped up our business, our regular ones that have kept us going over the years, we should have to say we have got no cider.
I say it's a miracle that this pub is still standing today because Birmingham hasn't been kind to Victorian architecture. In fact, Birmingham's done almost everything it can to rid itself of the heritage that made the city great. Strange, isn't it, that in the last 20 years bulldozers have pushed over nearly all the Victorian pubs. Now the breweries are running around erecting them by the dozen because it seems they've only just found out that people actually like them. Pint of bitter, please. Thanks. This place, this pub, is the real thing, the original, not some reincarnation dreamt up in an architect's department at a brewery. It's just as it was in 1901 when it was built, when Aston was a mecca for all the gay blades of Victorian society. Just across the road, the Aston Hippodrome, which gave this pub an enviable clientele. Vesta Tilley, Mary Lloyd, Charlie Chaplin, Laurel and Hardy. Yes, they've all been in here and they've all ordered a tot through this snob screen. Why a snob screen? Well, in those days, in Victorian days, it wasn't done to be seen in a pub. So, if you were in the lounge bar, you ordered your pint or whatever, and you took a peep through the snob screen to see who was in the public bar. It's an amazing relic, isn't it? But that's only the beginning. Take a look around. This isn't a pub, it's a palace, a magnificent profusion of colours, beautiful glazed tiles, almost dazzling in their splendour, and in current times when anything hinting at the Victorian period is fetching a price, well, it must be worth a king's ransom. Take this one mural, for instance, a hunting scene incorporating 77 individual tiles. And so it goes on, from floor to ceiling, yes, and including the ceiling. No one would spend that sort of money today. Even then, it must have cost a fortune. Then there's this cast iron staircase. Vulgar, maybe, grand, certainly. Amidst all this glory, even the smallest room boasted an engraved glass panel. Well, there's not much around here that's changed over the years, except the price of beer, of course.
If you wanted, you could probably turn this into a drinking game. So every time a television presenter asks a question which contains the answer they want, take a sip. Every time a ruddy-faced gentleman makes a case for their local beer as the best, take a sip. And for every complaint about the price of a pint, which you know full well costs less than £1, down in one. In our next sequence, we'll see that while the building can be very important in shaping a pub experience, surely it's the people that make the difference. The landlord or the landlady does more than anyone else to set the tone of the place. So are they warm and welcoming? Do they remember your name? Perhaps even start to pour your favourite drink before you make it to the bar? Or they are more surly presents, filling glasses collected before you even have a chance to finish off that good swig you'd left at the bottom. The publicans profiled in our next sequence are clearly local celebrities. It says quite a lot about Britain in the late 1960s. The discovery of a pub landlord who wasn't white led to the immediate dispatch of a local TV news crew. On the other side of the country, we're going to meet Antoinette Hannah of the Jolly Butchers in Norwich, who clearly knew how to jazz up an evening for her customers. And talking of customers, what's a pub without its public? We're also about to meet two distinctive pubgoers, one who keeps on going in pursuit of a world record, and the other who never seems to make an ass of himself, no matter how much he drinks. Look out for the golden locks of a certain ATV Today reporter who's clearly enjoying himself and went on to make, well, about 1 million other things.
Hello, Anna.
Hello.
How are you?
All right, stranger.
Yes, long time. It's been too long.
Yes.
What do you think of the English jazz scene in general, Anna?
Well, frankly, as musicians, they are good. I'm not disputing that. But they're too perfect. No feel, and, you know, they play correct. They don't miss a note, you know, and they're dead from the neck up, you know.
Don't you think this is the thing? I mean...
No, I don't think jazz is played as you really feel, you know, right from the heart, you know, right from the, you know, right, truly speaking, right from your guts.
Which is what you give out here, I know, I've seen it.
And I think the only people who do that are the Americans. I love the American jazz. I love it because it's casual. They don't care, you know, if they miss a note, it's a genius note.
Of course.
You see, but still, I don't know a note about music, so really probably I'm wrong, but still.
You were never taught to sing, were you?
No, it's just I don't say I sing.
Did you ever think of taking it up professionally yourself, Anna?
No.
Why not?
You know, I think I always thought to myself, I had my chances, didn't want them. My other people who worked with me, they made it. I knew I'd have to either go right up top or down below. And I knew I'd never get up top. So I like to do it as I like, when I like, and how I like. And I enjoy it, I love it.
Yes, I must have been a beautiful baby. I must have been a wonderful child. When I was only starting to go to the kindergarten, you better drove the other kids wild. When it came to winter blue ribbons, you better show the other kids how. I can see the judge's eye when he handed me the prize. Better made the killer's pie.
Half a bitter, please, Mr. D'Angel, when you've got a moment.
Yes, please.
What made you decide you'd like to be landlord of a pub?
Well, they're the same idea of service and association with people and mixing with people and to serve them, possible, and to just help my Indian people as well to solve their problems because they find sometimes the language problem.
Mr. D'Angel, you've got quite a mixed bag of customers here. How did they react to your appointment?
No, they're all pleased. They're pleased. And I don't find any fall in the number of the customers, whether they were white people, Jamaicans, or Indians. Well, I find people increasing.
It could be said that your appointment as manager is a sort of experiment in race relations. Do you anticipate any problem customers?
Well, it may be according to the view, but this will help in race relations and just making them better. I believe so.
I think you speak several languages yourself.
Yes.
How are you going to manage the black country accent?
Well, this has become a little bit problem for me because we foreigners generally speak, as we can call it, a King's English, correct English. But sometimes when they speak in their own colloquial or local English, we miss them sometimes. And I feel this difficulty in myself. Even though I know English, still there is a difficulty.
You'd like to have black country people speak the King's English?
Yes, they should just...
Mr. D'Angel, here's good luck in your appointment.
Now, this weekend, Mr. Jones is making an attempt at a world record, a record that may bring another world title to Swadlincote. But it's not a record that will be won easily. Long, hard and dedicated training goes towards it. This is what he was doing when I ran across him in the Newhall district of Swadlincote. Well, you're a very hard man to catch up with. How long have you been training like this?
Oh, about 3 weeks now, I think. Just about 3 weeks.
Now, this right hand of yours, the glove,
Huh.
what's that in aid of?
Well, I've been warned about when you're doing something like this, there's always a danger of blisters.
Yes.
And the weather we're having, there's also quite a serious chance of you're catching something like frostbite.
It has been very cold, I can see that, yes. Yes. Now, I think you haven't sought this record yourself, have you? Other people have pushed you into it, I think.
Well, I got talked into it by a couple of people that used to be friends of mine.
Well, what it comes down to, Darryl, you're doing this for England.
Well, I think you could say I was doing it for England, Burton-upon-Trent particularly.
Yes.
I think a record like this belongs in Burton-upon-Trent.
Where does it lie at the moment?
Of all places, it lies in New Zealand, and a New Zealander holds it.
Now, we've talked about this record, but what exactly is the record?
Well, this New Zealand fellow, he drank 12 pints of beer in 24 pubs. He drank a half pint in every pub. And it's my aim to drink a half pint in 26 pubs to beat this record and bring it to Burton-upon-Trent where I think it belongs.
Well, I'm sure it does belong there. Now, how long do you have to drink this beer in?
Well, a session which is liberally regarded as an afternoon session, a lunchtime session, or an evening session. I hope to do it within an hour and 3/4.
This record's 13 pints. Can you drink 13 pints?
Well, I don't know. I've never drunk 13 pints, but if I had, I wouldn't be able to remember anyway.
Well, you've been working your way around this morning. I know you've done about 10 pubs, I think.
About 10, yeah.
You've got the rest of the course to finish, haven't you?
Well, I'm going to try and do as much as I can this dinner hour, but
yes.
What I don't get around tonight, I'll certainly get around to on Saturday.
And then this afternoon it'll be work as usual.
Work as usual, yes.
Well, better continue your training spin.
Thank you very much indeed.
Oh, did you want this, sir?
This is the Shutter Inn at Gotherington, just 4 miles north of Cheltenham in Gloucestershire. It's a fairly typical, pleasant, amiable sort of local. And the regulars themselves are a fairly amiable, typical sort of bunch, enthusiastic but usually temperate. Usually temperate, that is, all except for one of them, a particularly difficult, obstinate regular called Jim, who for the last 7 years has been pestering the life out of the long-suffering landlady, Madge. His daily excesses for the last 7 years of bottled, draught, keg, swilled gallons of slops even, have frightened the life out of the locals. And in all that time of 7 years hard drinking, he hasn't put his hand in his pocket for so much as a half pint of bitter. Because you see, Jim's a donkey. Well, thank you very much. That'll obviously last me quite a long time, Madge.
Yes.
Just how much does Jimmy drink in a day?
About 5 gallons, mixed with Guinness and lemonade, soda, lots and lots of beer, right through the pumps, and also these. This is all the slops.
Yeah. I mean, even I wouldn't drink those.
Well, it's all clean drink.
You haven't actually offered them to me yet. 40 pints is an awful lot in a day. You sure it's good for him?
Yes. Yes, very, very good. His coat's good. The vets say he's marvellous.
Cheers, Jim. Well, rather a heavy morning here at the Shutter in Gotherington. I've had a pint of 3 myself, and him, well, he's had about 39. I think the last word really has to come from him.
Time for a short ad break.
Now one man and his ale, what he wants is whatness, what he wants is
Watney's pale.
What we want is whatness, 2 men and their ale, what they want is whatness, and what he wants is
Watney's brown.
What we want is whatness, creaming and the ale. What they want is whatness, what we want is a...
You know what? Whatney's pale, whatney's brown.
What we want is whatness!
All away, Mickey.
And now the best moment of all, a Guinness. That puts the strength back into a man. You've earned that Guinness.
Hey, Brian, you've just missed Stanley being all poetical.
All I said, it's music to me throat. And why not? All great literature needs a source of inspiration. Take Shakespeare.
Trophio, Trophio. Wherefore art thou, Trophio? Did Shakespeare say that?
No, I did. Thelma?
Oh, aye. Pint of trophy, please.
Only a genius could find words to describe how Trophy's tight, creamy head rises to accommodate that rich, characterful body.
A trophy, my kingdom for a trophy. Richard III, cheers.
Aye. Down the hatch. Stan Hargreaves.
Whitbread trophy. Bigger body, better bitter.
2 bottles of Guinness, please, love. Oh, no.
I've never poured Guinness before, I'm sorry.
Let me show you. Slow and easy. Well, don't just stand there. Have another go yourself. Now you're getting the hang of it.
Perfect. Just perfect.
Whatever will I do with all these?
Don't worry, love. We'll get rid of them for you.
As any landlord will tell you, pub ownership is not all beer and skittles. Even before the pandemic, the 21st century had seen a blight of pub closures. A recent report showed that more than 25% of the pubs in business in 2001 had closed by 2018, and it was smaller independents that were particularly affected. But what's notable is that many of these clips, which are 30, 40, 50 years old, is that it already feels like the sands are shifting. The traditional pub, whatever that may be, and the working man's beer already felt under threat. Part of what these clips reveal is that some of that change was perhaps needed. So the ban on smoking in pubs, for example, since 2006, has certainly improved the atmosphere and health of all. And when it comes to beer, perhaps cheap and cheerful is not always the best thing. Let's have everything in moderation, except quality. Last orders, please.
For many people here at Stone in Staffordshire, the bottom is falling out of their world. The reason? This. Jowls Brewery. Jowls have been brewing beer here in Stone for something like 200 years, and now they've been taken over by Bass Charringtons and they're closed down. Well, in the past, men have fought bloody wars over religion and the like, but here in Stone, they're all united in another cause, that of saving a brewery.
No government, not even this one, dare have done with the working man's beer, which is what Jowls was, what is proposed here, which in my opinion is we're gradually being phased into a computerised keg brewing industry. This may be good for business, but it's not good for my peace of mind, because Jowls as a beer didn't need advertising, the beer advertised itself.
Do you think the people of Stone are fighting this strongly enough?
Well, he's done his best, but when you talk about the man in the street, Jowls is 250 houses all over the Midlands. You haven't got them all under one roof and everybody say, we're not having it.
What do you think of Jowls beer?
So far as I'm concerned, is the nicest drink I ever had.
You're not British, are you?
No, I'm Danish.
How does it compare with Danish beer?
I would rather have this.
Do you think that bitter you've got in your hand there is better than the large brewers are producing?
Well, I like it better than they're producing because I've got used to it, and we've all got used to it in Stone. That's why we enjoy it.
I like the palate, and you always get a clear drink.
Will you be sorry if this brewery closes down?
I certainly will. I've signed no end of petitions against it.
What about your friends? Are they upset as well?
They certainly are.
Well, there we are. Hundreds of people are talking about it, hundreds of people are thinking about it, and hundreds more are drowning their sorrows while they still can. Cheers.
Try and separate a countryman from his beer, and you're asking for trouble. Well, that's just what's happened here in the little Herefordshire village of Lions Hall. They've got two pubs. One's the Maidenhead, the other the Royal George. Now, the same brewers own both pubs, and they want to close the Maidenhead. With what result, we'll find out from Bob Bowen, the licensee.
West Country York.
Bob. Yes, sir. What do your customers think of this proposal to close the pub?
Oh, not very much, actually.
Why not? Why don't they like it?
Well, I mean, there's still room for two pubs in Lions Hall.
Why do the brewers want to close the Maidenhead?
Well, owing to sanitation, I think. But in due course, the sanitation is coming through Lions Hall.
What's going to happen to your customers when the pub's closed? Where are they going then?
Well, there's vehicles on the road. They'll travel. I don't think they'll use the Royal George as much as...
You don't think so?
No.
How far are they going to have to go?
3 miles, Titley, new pub just been opened.
They tell me, Bob, that there are some people in Lions Hall that have never been into the Royal George. Is that true?
So I understand, yes.
Why is that, do you think?
Well, I don't know. I suppose it's a difference in company.
I see. What? Bit noisy over there, is it?
No, I wouldn't say that. Just family feelings, like.
I see. Bob, it sounds to me as though you're being a bit diplomatic. Let's have a word with one of the customers, shall we?
Yes.
Mrs. Egerton, are you upset about this?
Of course I'm upset about it.
Why?
Well, why should we have the Maidenhead closed after all these years?
Do you prefer to come here?
Definitely so.
And why don't you like the Royal George?
Well, there's too many teenagers, too much row, and we want a nice quiet drink, and we want somewhere where we can have a bit of appreciation.
There's two sides to every argument, and there's two sides to this one. Let's go over and get the other from Andy Sorby, who keeps the Royal George. Mr. Sorby, I've been told across the road that some of the customers of the Maidenhead prefer that pub because they think it's too noisy in the Royal George. What have you got to say about that?
Well, as regards the noise, sir, we have a room here, and we have a record player, and we sometimes bring in music at the weekend, but we have a room here for the youngsters. When the noise is a bit loud, we confine it to that room, and the bar here is for the older people to enjoy their drink in peace and quiet. We cater for both classes.
I see. What do you think about the closure?
Well, as far as the closure of the Maidenhead goes, I'd hate to see the landlord go because he's a very good friend of mine. But as far as the pub goes, I mean, I've got no thoughts on that matter because I've got my own trade here in the Royal George.
Do you think you will be able to get all the people of Lions Hall who want to drink into your bar?
I will do when the brewery have decided that they're going to alter this pub and make this bar bigger, take in one of these rooms, and I'm quite sure I will have room.
Do you think it's too noisy?
No, I don't.
Well, I don't like a lot of the company across at the Maidenhead.
I like the atmosphere here. There's plenty of room.
Well, here's something they haven't got at the Maidenhead.
Well, it's time to go. Early start tomorrow, and I haven't really eaten properly. And oh well, go on. Just one more, a quick one. Many of these clips hint at the world of homogenised pub chains and brewery buyouts that was on the horizon. But I think it's notable that many of the drinkers we've seen have got a really clear sense of where their beer came from. Not a corporate mega brand advertised on television, but from a local brewery offering a varied product. And perhaps, just maybe, with the recent growth of craft beer, bottle shops and microbreweries, we're on the cusp of a new era for the pub, one that again embraces community, but also difference and identity, and still succeeds as a thriving business. But, if all else fails, if this whistle-stop tour is to teach us anything, it's what really gets the punters in and makes a pub special is its selection of crisps. Good night.
I'm in the Polgooth Inn, which is about 3 miles from Evergissie on the Polgooth St Austell Road. Very famous people have been here, rare characters like James Watt. And even today, some very weird and peculiar people become customers of this public house, as you can see. I don't know who's the customer here and who in fact is the... Who's come in for a drink here, David?
Oh, sit by, this is Queenie. She very often comes into the bar and the dog also likes a ride.
He just comes in for the ride?
Oh, he likes to come in behind the bar and eat a few chips. Sit down, boy.
I said, well, the dog can't drink because it's driving, really, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah.
But Queenie can have. What does Queenie have?
Sit down, boy.
Hello. Well, that's the rarest thing I've ever seen walk into a public house, I must admit.
Sit down, boy. It's very difficult. Sit down, boy. Very difficult for him to stand. Oh, a driver. Come on.
He's gone.
Driver.
Oh, Queenie. What does Queenie have, by the way?
Well, she might eat a few chips.
She might eat a few chips. Now, I know you've got another customer that does eat potato crisps, haven't you?
Oh, definitely.
Bubbles. Can Bubbles come in
Bubbles?
as well? Wait till you see this.
Bubbles, do you
Come
want
on.
chips?
Bubbles.
Come on, man.
Come on, then.
Come on, man.
Come on, Bubbles.
Come on, boy.
Come on, then.
Let's just see how she gets on.
Come on, then. I'll get him out. Oh, hold on a minute. Dearly me. You can't be that hungry. You've had 2 ton of hay out there. There you are. This is Bubbles. It's been reared on potato crisps, I understand. David, how did you start bringing Bubbles up on potato
Well, I
crisps?
didn't actually start at all. I think the visitors started Bubbles off on crisp. When the kids came around in the evenings, they all saw this lamb and they were all very fond of it. And naturally, when they bought a packet of crisps here, the packet rattled, so therefore she went over and either knocked them out of the way and took the crisps out of their hand. Bubs! Bubbles! Come on.
Yeah, then. Come on. You are. Come on. There you are. There you are. There's your lunch.
Now one man and his ale. What he wants is whatness. What he wants is
Watney's pale.
What we want is whatness. 2 men and their ale. What they want is whatness. And what he wants is
Watney's brown.
What we want is whatness.